welcome to The Crumbling, a podcast about how I've never been more sure we live in hell and how to upset the devil so bad that he just lets us out. How's everybody doing tonight?
I'm great. I've been watching the news and I like what I'm seeing.
Is it because Tesla stock is sinking?
No.
There's cratered.
When I say I've been watching the news, I mean I've been watching reruns of Animaniacs, and I'm like, you know what? These kids, they really know what they're doing. They got a handle on this. This is basically the same thing, Animaniacs and CNN, right?
Roughly.
I'm Andrew Hillary, by the way.
I'm Sophia Florence.
And I'm Davin
Dubois.
Hey, you know it.
Hey.
I didn't have a follow-up to the Animaniacs joke. I was trying to tee it off. I just didn't have anything.
If I remember correctly, I believe Animaniacs recognizes the state of Palestine.
It does. I think it does too.
It does. I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm
Shout out
looking
to
this up.
Comrade Animaniacs.
Animaniacs episode Yakko's World, which aired in 1993, Palestine is mentioned as a state.
Let's fucking go.
So
That's all I need. That's all I needed.
That's the one where he sings the song. Wow, I'm on the Animaniacs wiki now. Yeah, that's the one where he's like, United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that song. Somebody updated the song at some point. Which might have been for the new series to deal with stuff like balkanization. That's a thing. We don't have to do this right now. We're gonna.
No, you know what? Fuck the script. Let's just read the Wikipedia for Animaniacs.
Nope, my ADHD meds have not worn off yet, and that's why I got lost there for a second. We're not getting lost today. We are doing an episode.
I think I need to get medicated for my ADHD because, like, since I've stopped smoking cigarettes, I'm like, here's the thing. I was never great at completing tasks, but it has gotten so much worse. Like, I'm behind on fucking everything. It's my life is falling apart without cigarettes.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me. Like, when I quit cigarettes, I realized that I had been covertly medicating my ADHD for a long time and didn't even realize that I had ADHD. And I went to my doctor and we had a conversation, and they asked if I ever did stimulants and how they made me feel, and I was like, oh, stimulants make me feel very normal.
Well, anyway. Bad news, I just lost my healthcare. Also, have you ever heard my joke about the millennial one-upper?
What is it?
Oh yeah, well, I've got 90 HD.
Nice. We're going to go back to our regularly scheduled programming. To catch everyone up, we've now talked about climate change, starting with the realization that it might be a thing in the 1800s. The next realization that it was definitely a thing came during the 1940s. And the last catastrophic realization by oil companies that they need to convince people it's not happening in order to keep the cash flowing. If you're listening to this episode without the previous four, you may want to go back to follow the whole story. Also, if you appreciate what we're doing here, as always, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/thecrumblingpodcast and our Beehive at thecrumbling.beehive.com. And Beehive is spelled all fucky and stupid like BEEHIIV.
It's a startup. Hey, what's up? We're a tech company. We refuse to spell shit right.
Everybody knows tech bros can't spell.
When you say it's a startup, all I can think of is like you know, like on the Flintstones where they use like the
it's
the
a living.
It's a living. Yeah. That's like you know, like somebody like very depressedly working at a startup, like not making any money, and they're like, it's a startup.
Now I'm just thinking of a steampunk dinosaur. I don't know why.
I think the funniest steampunk dinosaur would be a dope tattoo or a great name for a band.
Yes, I'm very committed to my band name, which is Formal Jorts.
Nice. All right. Our story tonight is going to touch on something that actually became our first article on Beehive about Ted Cruz publishing a database of grants that he accused of being woke or DEI or, you know, something like that. But the words woke and DEI were used in his stupid fucking article. It's obnoxious. Myself and our fourth member, Damien, who works with us on writing, editing, and research now, did some pretty thorough analysis of the database. And Damien says hi. And there was a lot of hours that we spent spent double checking it by hand, data mining the data set to find where Cruz or his lackeys made sloppy mistakes, all that. I thought I'd mention a bit of it here because it ties into the story we're telling about climate change, the disinformation campaign of petroleum companies and their patsies, and how that ultimately undermined a lot of public faith in scientific institutions. That's not to say that scientific institutions are perfect or above criticism, but there are a lot of people within these institutions doing research for making way less than they'd make in industry. While there's a lot of freedom in pursuing this kind of research, it's a job where you have to constantly have to fight for funding, attention, and recognition. Even if you love your research, science is hard and it doesn't love you back. According to NSF...
Wait, it's Adam and Steve, not Adam and Science. Get the fuck out of here. Did I say it's Adam and Steve? I'm such an idiot.
No, we like Adam and Steve out here in these parts.
I accept gay people. I draw the line at somebody trying to fuck a beaker, okay?
Hey. I love all types, but if you nerds have gone a little too far, all right?
I know like 3 science items, okay? Like
that's more than I know.
Maybe Beaker wasn't the best poll, Sophia, but I'm working with what I got.
Fair. So according to the NSF, R&D expenditures at academic institutions in the U.S. totaled almost $100 billion in 2022. This is a number higher than the GDP of Rhode Island and higher than the GDPs of Vermont and Wyoming combined. To put it in more context, according to the Progressive Policy Institute, and their numbers do check out on this, the U.S. does around 28% of the world's scientific R&D spending. It's a really tremendous volume of work. While some of it is for bullshit reasons like defense, and a lot of defense spending is the DOD doing weird edge case research on stuff like prosthetics, regenerative medicine, and rare disease because they see some kind of soldier or other defense benefit. But the primary targets of the research are actually disabled people. It's a really gross situation that complicates the already messy relationship disabled people and people with rare diseases have to deal with regarding the pharma and medical industries. While some of it is for bullshit reasons like defense, a lot of it is really great science. Sadly, folks like Ted Cruz, a notable ignoramus and coward, doesn't see the value in this. Our article shows that his database completely fucked up, overvaluing the research they identified as woke DEI or whatever by around 65%. They ultimately grabbed a lot of research that may have mentioned a social goal, but was largely just regular scientific research. The most notable one to me was a grant that was pinged because of the word trauma, because Cruz has no fucking clue what that word means. The research there was for the development of a device that tracked eye movements to help identify traumatic brain injuries and similar neurological issues. Can't imagine how that would help soldiers or football players or just people who go around getting bonks once in a while.
I mean, honestly, like if you're a soldier with PTSD, like I think you're kind of woke. At that point, like I get it. Like I'm not gonna defend everything Ted Cruz has ever done, but like on this one, I'm in agreement.
Everybody knows head injuries are not common for soldiers.
And definitely not football players either. They're faking it.
No.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah, you get a lot more head injuries from taking the vaccine, actually.
Didn't you know vaccines cause CTE?
Yeah, people thought Chris Benoit, he just got never mind.
Oh my God. Okay. Cruz's database also highlighted terms like net zero, climate justice, and green infrastructure as being bad terms or bad words or whatever. And this led to a number of great research grants being tagged as being waste, fraud, or abuse. While this document dropped in October, it got some recent news coverage, is why we talked about it at Beehive, and it also serves as a predecessor to where we're at now with a guy who pays people for sex with horses instead of the classic bribe of actual fucking currency.
The horse? I'm confused.
Do you not know about the Elon Musk paying someone for sex with a horse?
I heard about that, but
the way you worded it is the guy who pays people for sex with horses. I'm like, wait, so he's paying them to have sex with a horse?
I thought it was like he's trying to have sex.
We're not doing another Mr. Hands 2 weeks in a row.
And for the record, I do know about this story, but it was not a horse. It was a pony.
Was it a pony?
No, I think it was a horse. But also, I don't know what the difference between a horse and a pony is.
I honestly don't either.
I think size.
Size doesn't matter. All of my exes have told me that.
All right.
We're off the rails today. I need to start drinking for some of these episodes.
I should start smoking cigarettes again. You're right.
All right. I need to say that DEI in STEM research is actually a good thing. Including more people in the wonderful things that we do in life and helping people out who need it is good. It's also fundamentally good for science to have diverse viewpoints. Scientific discovery is so often accidental. It requires people to record data. Data means shit if we don't examine what we're looking at. More eyes on a problem, especially eyes with different prior experiences, means a better shot at really understanding what the hell is going on in the world. I want to talk about the defunding of groups like the NOAA, the NSF, the NIST, and NIH, because holy shit, we have been going down a dark path with this.
In my opinion, like, if you're not going to just call your agent, if you're going to be like, oh, we use some letters, like, you deserve it. You're up to, they're doing shady shit. The NOAA, just call it the weather store, dumbass.
We realize that you might come to this show for us talking about history or making jokes, but you're living through history right now.
My apologies.
No. I love
was
your
apologizing
presence here.
to the listener.
Oh.
If you're here for history, my bad.
And if you're here for making jokes, my bad.
If you came here to learn something, you fucked up.
Three of us on this team here have our own personal histories in STEM fields and have benefited from this kind of federal funding in some way or another. We felt like it was the perfect conclusion to talking about how climate change disinformation undermined faith in scientific institutions like the NSF and NIH, and how that's being used to take opportunities away from students and ultimately in harming communities who need research done to help with dealing with the impacts of climate change. Helping people adapt to climate change just plainly isn't a profitable enterprise unless you decide to go full vault tech, but it does feel like we're living in Fallout lately. And in case you've been asleep for the last few months, I'll let Davin give you a short explainer on how we're the stupidest situation I've ever been in. And I worked at the Old Moe's on Whitney Ave, New Haven on Parade Day 5 years in a row, so I know a thing or 50 about stupid situations.
It all started when Elon Musk, legendary dipshit who loves buying companies and pretending he founded them and pretending to be an engineer and pretending to play video games and pretending to, well, you get the picture. It all started, kind of, when Elon bought Twitter, absolutely ruined the state of discourse in this country with the help of a bunch of Nazis and other malcontents and troglodytes, and continued on to suggest the government start a Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, named after the meme with the Shiba Inu.
I believe it's pronounced doggy.
Doggy would be funny, and Elon's not funny. So it's DOGE.
Yeah. Fair.
You'd think this was a joke. But Trump took him very seriously. After being given $288 million in campaign donations and winning one of the most disheartening elections in modern history, Trump decided to let Elon start firing people in the government en masse without cause, often firing people with critical job functions such as monitoring the bird flu that might turn into a pandemic or dealing with the safety of our country's nuclear arsenal. Wow, there's a lot of corruption and other fuckery to be found within DOGE. We won't be talking about his accomplices who call themselves, you're fucking kidding me.
Do you not know about the Big Balls guy?
I thought that... sorry.
Nah, his name on LinkedIn was Big Balls.
Listeners, I apologize. Sometimes I don't read the scripts and the outlines, even though Sophia gently and begs me to. I feel it reacts for a more authentic reaction. However, who call themselves Big Balls or whatever, I never want to hear anyone ever fucking complain about like a slightly ethnic name on any job application ever again. If you want good coverage on that, please give some attention to the folks at Wired and our former guest and good friend, Laura Jadid, at bandinYourState.com. Both of them are doing incredible work. We'll link to both those in the show notes.
Well, I don't know if you realize this, but the problem with somebody having an ethnic name isn't the name, it's that they're not white. So Big Balls is white, and so that means it's fine.
Well, there was a tilde on it, so it's Big Balls.
The most shocking thing is that it's not spelled with a Z, honestly.
Big Balls.
I would actively hang up this call and walk out and try to drown myself.
I would drown myself in a dried up river if I had to fucking salute the flag of Big Balls. Can't help it. There's a train, it's on tracks, and I'm like, I could do something about this.
You're good.
The only problem is just me derailing the train.
Of course, the economic impact of this is important. When you look at the biggest job cut in U.S. history, famously woke publication Forbes wrote the following. Approximately 65,000 federal employees have accepted a buyout offer made by President Donald Trump to more than 2 million government workers in an unprecedented move to shrink the U.S. government that, if passes legal muster, will become the largest single job reduction in U.S. history. It goes on to talk about the top three. IBM, currently the all-time record for the largest corporate job cut, belongs to tech company IBM, which laid off 60,000 people in 1993. The same year, it posted an $8 billion loss. Sears, Roebuck & Co., cut 50,000 jobs and closed 113 stores in 1993. Citigroup cut 50,000 jobs amid the 2008 financial crisis. I'm just going to stop. Well, now I'm stopped reading from quotes. I think it's incredible that the top three are these earth-shattering ones. Also, I thought Enron would be on there, but yeah, that's a name you haven't heard.
Sure. Yeah. The previous top three biggest single event layoffs were companies that were experiencing major major financial downturns, but like whenever the U.S. government does it, it's good. It's one of the few things the government does that's good. Actually, it's like, don't ask what you can do for what your government can do for you. Ask if you could find employment elsewhere. Wait, so now I want to propose a theory. I don't know if I've told you this. So we talked about, Devin, you talked about how Elon contributed $288 million to Trump's re-election campaign. Have I told you this my theory that I don't think that made really any difference whatsoever? I think that like because people hated Joe so much and because like he left, but Kamala was like, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I think that absolutely nothing else that happened prior to the election mattered. I think that was it. Like Elon, they think that Trump thinks that because Elon gave him $250 million that like, oh, this put me over the finish line. I think he was going to win it if nothing happened. Like if none of that happened, I don't know. It feels like.
I'll give pushback. I think $250 million helps no matter what you're doing. And also because I watch a lot more like, I'll say like right-leaning stuff, aka college football, than you guys. Those fucking commercials, like the unhinged Trump ones, were everywhere. Like you couldn't go a single like game commercial break without seeing one of them, and they were unhinged. Yeah. So like there's a world where I think I do agree with you. I think that this election was Trump was almost going to win unless like a couple of things changed, aka Joe Biden stepping down earlier.
Or just like offering any possible alternative other than like, we're going to keep doing the exact same thing.
I was getting there, yeah. But I was a fan of calling Republicans. I was a fan of calling JD Vance and Trump weird because that shit's just fucking hilarious and like was working.
Yeah, no, it was working. And like if Kamala she wouldn't have had to go like full Bernie Sanders. But even if she was like, we're going to figure out some way to do something where you can all afford to go to the doctor. No, don't care what it costs. Don't care what it is. Yeah. We're going to figure something out. You're all going to be able to go. Just one thing like that, like a broad thing like that, that would have been enough.
Yeah, the doubling down on Liz Cheney definitely wasn't good, but I think $250 million at minimum gets the name talking amongst circles who, I'm not going to say we're already going to vote for Trump, but we're probably more Trump sympathetic.
I don't know. I don't think political ads really work because like if you look,
no, they do that shit sticks.
If you look at how like debate shit works, everybody that watches a debate, whatever side they're on, they just think their guy is right. Like political ads, like it makes the people who lean towards Trump feel more excited, but like I don't think that's winning over anybody. Well, I don't think there is such thing as an undecided voter. Like
there's actually shit tons. Actually the majority of voters are undecided. The majority of voters are not people who are decided ahead of time.
I would say, let me put it to you this way. I think you're a relatively informed person who takes a pretty like nuanced view of things. But the average person, for the most part, is only going to remember like the five snappy things. Like the most of what people remembered from Obama's campaign is hope. Like it was just a tagline.
Well, yeah, because nothing changed.
Okay. Also, I'm gonna fact check myself on that. Like, so it's not the majority of voters that are undecided. Rather, sorry, what I meant to say is the majority of people don't fucking vote. And there are a lot of unaffiliated voters. But yeah, anywhere from like
I would say
5 to 15% of voters are undecided before elections, which is enough to swing it either way. But like, it's still,
I think it's make people more excited about the election, but I don't think they're changing anybody's mind. I don't think anybody was like, I was going to vote for Kamala, but I saw that ad about trans people. Now I'm voting for Trump. I don't think that's a real thing that happens.
I've met a lot of people who do quote ads back to me.
Yeah, I don't remember that shit, but I think they were already, they were receptive to it to begin with. Like anybody that cares about trans people and like considers them human beings worthy of respect, they weren't going to vote for Trump anyways. That ad where they were like, Kamala's doing trans surgeries on prisoners, that worked for people that already hated trans people. That didn't convince anybody. Like,
I think that really just gets people that are like people that are already for a side actually to go to the polls. They're like, oh, like I'm for Trump, but like I didn't go to the polls yet. And then they see that ad and they're like, oh, I'm for Trump, and I'm definitely going to vote. I think that's more what the ads are for. I don't think Elon paying that money changed the outcome of the election. I think Elon paying that money bought him favor with Trump and allowed him to do the things that he's doing now.
Oh, you know, he's definitely
now all he's doing is getting rid of the places that are investigating his businesses for nonstop fuckery.
Getting back to it, and while we're on the subject, so this is from Reuters. I always want to say Reuters.
It looks like
I
Reuters.
feel like both Reuters and Reuters are the wrong way to pronounce this word. Whatever. From Reuters. Government accounted for the bulk of layoffs, with Challenger tracking 62,242 announced job cuts by the federal government from 17 different agencies. The government has laid off about 62,530 workers in the first 2 months of the year. A whopping, get ready for this, buckle up. If you're standing, folks, sit down. A whopping 41,311% increase compared to the same time period last year. 41,000%. Quote, when mass layoffs occur, it often leaves the remaining staff feeling uneasy and uncertain, end quote, said Andrew Challenger, the senior vice president at Challenger Gray and Christmas. Timeout. Challenger Gray and Christmas is made up. That's ridiculous.
It's such a weird firm name. I also lost my shit when I read that. It was like, all right, I need to dig into this company. And yeah, that their whole thing is studying job loss, I guess.
That is insane.
He continued, the likelihood that many more workers leave voluntarily is high. So I want to go back to another article in our woke resistor comrades over at Forbes that says President Donald Trump and Elon Musk's slashing of federal jobs has led to record losses in the government sector. As of the end of February, 62,530 government workers were fired in comparison to 151 last year. If you were waiting for 151,000, no. 3 digits is the number from last year. We're at 62,530. That cut represents 28% of all the jobs cut in the first 2 months of 2025. The remaining ones being in private sector and in education. In case you don't feel like doing the math, which me personally, I never do the math. We're talking roughly 250,000 jobs cut in the United States in the first 2 months of this nonsense ass year. And that's not covering what's happening this month, March, when you're listening to this. I would, it's tough to say. We don't like to make predictions. I would, if I had to guess, gun to my head, first of all, gun to my head, pulling the trigger. But if I had to guess, it's probably worse. It's probably going up still. Number go up.
It's probably going to keep going up. It stonks, but for firing people.
I love the expression "gun to my head," like as a person that has struggled with suicidal ideation. Gun to my head. I know what I'm doing.
Same. Oh my God. So yeah, we know everyone is talking about this, but it's honestly sort of coincidental that we wound up in this historical clusterfuck while we were recording episodes on climate change. We had planned this arc last year before we even knew what the election was going to be like. I guess, for me, always the Cassandra, never the maiden, the mother of the crone. If you're wondering about a more explicit connection to the rest of the story for this episode, let's talk about it for a second. We've had one big villain for this story arc, and it's been the American Petroleum Institute. The Cato Institute played a pivotal role, but the API keeps coming back like the grift that keeps on grifting, or whatever the saying is. Tying them to the current moment is the incestuous relationship between conservative think tanks, big business interests, and the oil industry specifically. The people who wrote Project 2025 at the Heritage Foundation, a document which gives a roadmap to Donald Trump's presidency, are taking over the government. One of the architects of that document was Russ Vought, now the head of the Office of Management and Budget, which is appearing to work hand in hand with Elon to accomplish both Project 2025 and DOGE's goal of dismantling much of the federal bureaucracy and scientific staff. And notes from Damien, people have tried this through Subversion before, and he left a note of a web of interrelated climate change groups, and we will put that stuff in the show notes, but we're going to keep it moving. So finding a connection between Heritage Foundation and API isn't hard. In fact, it took me roughly 30 seconds. Just Google the names of both organizations. You find people that have worked for both, such as Jack Crampton, the current VP in Federal Relations at the API, who also previously worked for the Department of Energy during the first Trump admin and for the Heritage Foundation in 2010. You'll find dozens of articles where Heritage quotes the API and vice versa. Most compelling, you'll find a lawsuit from the API and others against the U.S. Department of Transportation and other parts of the government involved with regulating vehicles, specifically around industry standards for fuel efficiency. The Heritage Foundation, despite not participating in the lawsuit themselves, was mentioned over 40 times. By the plaintiffs, of course, either through citations or direct quotes during the course of the document. You don't really get modern conservative politics without, the petroleum industry paying for it.
Well, it's good for them. You like to see somebody make a purchase and then have it pan out. I'd hate to see the petroleum industry just waste all that money, but no, they invested and they got exactly what they wanted. Complete control of the future.
Yeah, I have an this is going to sound incredibly dumb. What's the likelihood that a group bands together, of the fired employees from the government and just kind of finds a bunch of these pop-up businesses where they're like, hey man, if you want private sector, you're going to have to pay us to do the same job we were fucking doing to stop this shit from collapsing. Zero. Or a lot of other states governments are like, y'all want to come here and help us keep running shit efficiently? One of those two options. Because I feel like one of them is going to happen.
We're going to be in a depression soon.
Actually, people do leave large private companies a lot and start consulting firms. It wouldn't be crazy for somebody to do that with the government. And I'm sure that people have government and private industry are always exchanging people. And some of that is because people develop specific expertise in either government or private industry that it's if you end up specializing in something. In my career, I've specialized in two things, pharmaceuticals and data science. And I wouldn't want to do data science for just anyone. I wouldn't want to do pharmaceuticals for just anyone. But at the end of the day, sometimes you just sign up for a fucking paycheck. So
I guess I wouldn't say that none of these people will find work again and everything will come crashing down. Although, who's to say? I think that they'll probably get jobs, but the possibility of these thousands and thousands of fired employees from all different kind of government agencies banding together to
no. I mean,
okay, that's what I thought you were saying.
No, not a super collective of hey, let's just all team up. I mean, the pockets of people. If you have a lot of people fired from the NSF, them kind of taking their expertise and being hey, there's 10 of us. Let's just I hate simplifying it to LLC, but maybe we can do something to survive, because I don't that's I think one of the terrifying things is that's so much institutional knowledge walking out the door. I hope no one ever goes through layoffs, but if you ever go through layoffs, it's always depressing. One, because a bunch of people just got fired, and two, you recognize how much shit is people are taking that just make that turn a 40-hour work that turn a 60-hour work week into a 40-hour work week, where it's oh, we let a couple of the really big players walk out the door who had this almost unmeasurable need. It's just what's the old adage? You don't piss off the secretary who knows where all the keys are, because you have to look through a bunch of other keys.
Yeah,
it's that type of feel.
And there's a good chance that this turns into a recession. There are a lot of indicators pointing to that, and it wouldn't fucking surprise me.
Stock market is down.
Mind, the reason that they're doing these cuts is not to save money. It is to destroy the ability of these agencies to function, so that they can point to the failing agency and say, see, this is not something we should be doing at all. And, we can privatize it. Privatizing government agencies, that's not something that the Nazis did. Oh, sorry, it is.
It is. It sure is. It's also what happened to Russia after the USSR fell. A bunch of people stepped up and were we're going to buy the old government functions.
Yeah. And so I'm sure it'll be fine.
Those are the people that are in charge.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
We're good.
Anyway.
Oh my God. Worst that one.
I know I'm probably preaching to the choir, but I'd like to spend some time talking about really cool work funded by a few federal programs. First on the list is a program called EPSCoR, or the Established Program to Simulate Competitive Research. While this is one of the lamest names in history, and I cannot emphasize enough.
I was going to say that.
The NSF's website gives context to its mission, and I'll have Daphne read that.
To build research and development capacity and strengthen STEM education opportunities in states that have traditionally received lower levels of funding.
Yeah, that's it. Some notable projects for this were in places like Vermont, New Mexico, South Dakota, Louisiana, South Carolina, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Oklahoma. One is called the FLASH Initiative, which is an acronym for the Flooding Appalachian Streams and Headwaters Initiative. It's specifically for mitigating the impacts of flash floods on rural communities in Appalachia, which is kind of inherent in the title. Damien notes, you might have heard about all the horrible floods in Kentucky and North Carolina on the news. It was the one where FEMA was getting death threats. And like, yeah, there's bad flooding there. And like, despite the fact that it's not coastal, like it is uniquely, not horribly uniquely, but it is vulnerable to climate change. It is vulnerable to the effects of climate change. And the FLASH Initiative has a goal of improving community resilience to climate change, which one is important and two is the right thing to do. This isn't a wealthy area where some large firm that's engaging in the research. It's the University of Kentucky, which is literally just trying to help people in one of the most impoverished areas in the entire U.S. For now, its work is ongoing, but DOGE, Trump himself, the new heads of many federal agencies under his administration, with help from Sweaty Teddy and his friends, are out to stop any research that even remotely mentions climate change, no matter how much it helps people, even their own voters and constituents. They have to pretend to like those people, but when it comes to delivering results, that's for the fucking birds. Another grant in that same program is for weather monitoring and climate prediction models to help improve resilience of agricultural communities in the Midwest against the impacts of climate change. These are like things like droughts, tornadoes, polar vortices, things of that nature, and these are the kind of things that protect farms and food. But it's not just about our food supply, but it's also about one of our main exports, corn. We exported 1.6 billion bushels, or 42.1 million metric tons of corn in the 2022-2023 season. That is
I didn't even realize they put out that many albums.
Okay, I'm gonna die.
Rip.
So that's $14.4 billion of corn. And it puts us in a tie with Brazil for being the biggest corn exporter in the world, according to the Observatory of Economic Complexity. Sorry. That all being said, petroleum is actually our leading export, and we are the world's largest exporter of it. That no one even seems to talk about that, and it's contrary to the whole energy emergency thing that these assets have been promoting. But anyway, as far as the corn goes, 40% of the corn we produce is also used for energy. If you have no idea about this before, look at your gas when you go to pump it. It often says that it has a certain percent ethanol by volume. This ethanol, which is another name for the kind of alcohol you drink, is also called ethyl alcohol. It can be made by fermenting corn and distilling the product. Every year since the early 80s, the U.S. government has paid over $20 million per year for subsidies to do this, but that number is often more in the billions range than the millions.
I think it's incredible that I get really annoyed, but to me, it feels like the good that science does is so obvious when you just kind of look at some of the things, but people are like, well, what has science ever done for me? I don't know. Like, it's just always irritating because I'm like, this shit's a Google away and it's kind of on the nose. Like, yeah.
Well, when a lot of people are just asking questions, what they're actually doing is refusing to accept reality.
They're jacking off.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think that the ghosts of dinosaurs ever get like kind of pissed off whenever we're putting corn in our gas tanks instead of their liquefied remains? It's like, what's their whole job now? Like, the ghost of a dinosaur doesn't have a lot going on. It's like, oh, what can you hope to be in the world? Like, oh, I can hope to power a fucking Humvee or some shit. But no, they're putting corn in there?
Yeah, I get that. Like if I was a dinosaur and I was watching the asteroid come down, I'd be like, okay, I want two things. One, tree stars. Two, to power a fucking jet.
Oh my God.
Wait, do you believe in ghosts? Are there ghosts of dinosaurs? Here's the thing.
Fuck if I know.
I have a whole fucking stand up, so I'm not going to go into it. But like, I don't think ghosts are real because there should be just ghosts everywhere, Like, it should be like, you hear about 1 or 2 ghosts a year. It's like 10 billion people have died in our history. There should be fucking ghosts everywhere. But I wasn't even thinking about, there should be dinosaur ghosts. There should be ghosts of fucking cavemen. There should be Neanderthal ghosts. There should be woolly mammoth ghosts. But no, every single fucking ghost is some Victorian child. Bullshit.
Bullshit. Anyway, so we don't have a perfect picture of the makeup of all the graduate studies in the US, but a study done by the National Center for Science and Engineering Statistics examining 21 universities showed that 40.9% of doctorate recipients in the US during 2014 to 2017 had their research solely funded by federal funding, and only 16.4% had no federal funding at all. The majority of students pursuing doctorates in the USA depend on these programs. For more detail on the data for this, feel free to check out our show notes at thecrumbling.beehive.com. And I know that study was only limited to 21 universities, but it is deeply representative of the university in the US, and you'll find that most of these statistics hold out. I just thought that this was one of the better looks at those kinds of statistics, and it aggregated the facts a lot better than a lot of other places. But anyway, for fields like life sciences, which includes medicine, as well as mathematics, computer science, and physics, we're looking at even higher numbers than that. Large chunks of this research comes from the NSF, the National Science Foundation, and the NIH, the National Institute of Health, and small amounts comes from the Department of Energy, the Department of Education, Health and Human Services, and even NASA. In fact, two professors, which I was doing research under as an undergrad, had been previously funded by NASA grants. As you know, our previous research in this group had showed promise in illuminating potentials for identifying conditions on other planets where life could arise. And like just for the record, like I went to a very not large, not prestigious university in the Northeast. Like I went to the University of New Haven, which is like, I loved it there. I had a good time. I'm not going to say whether I recommend it or not. That's I'm not here to promote the university, but like, I do still do a lot of things with them. So obviously like care for this institution. And, you know, this wasn't like a big research institution like Yale, which is, you know, down the fucking street.
JD Vance's
from
alma mater.
University of New Haven. Yeah. I went to the small one. But you know, it was a great place for me to kind of cut my teeth, and learned a lot there. And being able to do research with people, for me, like somebody who grew up in like a very poor place, was fucking important. Anyway, all this is to say that we really value federal research. If you're listening to the show, you also should value federal research. The work done by NSF, NIH, and others is so important to combating climate change, building resilience, improving transportation efficiency, preventing future pandemics, letting poor kids become scientists, and so fucking much more. This kind of work needs to be done by someone, and with the US funding so much of the world's scientific research at large, there really isn't the capacity to fill in that gap worldwide, at least not easily. I'd like to urge you to take action, whether it's joining a protest, supporting federal workers who are struggling to find new employment, telling your congresspeople or senators to stop being babies and do something about it, or, you know, whatever the fucking French do about this kind of thing. We'll leave that part to your imagination.
Poop on a lawn.
Shit in the Seine. No, seriously, that's a thing. If shit in the Seine was a thing last year in France, because I guess some French politicians said that they would go swimming in the Seine, and people in Paris were like, bitch, no, you fucking wouldn't. And they went and they shit in it. I think John Oliver may have done some stuff on that, but that's neither here nor there. This is the end of the episode. This is the end of our climate change arc. This one has been a lot of fun to write. I learned a lot of things, like Republicans wanted to put asbestos in the Twin Towers even after a 9/11, which
I'm sorry. They wanted to put asbestos in the Twin Towers after 9/11?
Well, you remember the article from last episode where the guy was like, oh, if they had only put more asbestos in there, like it wouldn't have burned so fast and less people would have died immediately. And he didn't follow it up with the entirety of New York would have had fucking cancer, but like, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there would be way less fucking 9/11 survivors to worry about, because, you know, I spend lots of I never forget that shit. Okay.
Oh my God.
If they were all gone, maybe I could. Don't look at me like that, okay? I'm making a valid point. Also, did you know that the water in Venice is so disgusting that if you accidentally fall into a canal, you have to be quarantined?
God, we're all fucking degenerates. But no, I had no idea of that.
Yeah. I peed in the canal. I was like hammered drunk in Venice, and I got lost, and I peed in the canal, and it was very fun. It was amazing. One of my better experiences in life.
Hell yeah. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Anyway, you guys have anything you want to plug?
No.
If you were in Chicago 2 weeks before this came out, I hope you were at the live show I'm doing this weekend.
Oh, I'm so happy that you're doing a live show.
Yeah.
We'll send us a flyer. We'll put something about it on the Patreon and stuff.
It's I'm doing stand up to open up for Western Kabuki's live podcast. So
fuck yeah,
sold
that's
out, but
fucking awesome.
Yeah, no,
That's
you can't
incredible.
just start a podcast live show. You need something to happen first. You can't just like walk out on a stage and sit down. So I was like, let me come. I'll do 10 minutes. I'll get the crowd excited to hear something that's actually funny. They'll be ready for you.
I was going to suggest that we do a live show at the end of the year, and yeah, we'll talk about that later. Anyway, I just want to plug our Patreon again. It's patreon.com/the Crumbling Podcast. You get free episodes that are little extras if you go there. We also are going to be releasing some merch on there, like shirts and stuff, and maybe some other fun little things.
Good stuff happening over on the Patreon. This week, I made an argument that time isn't real, and it got heated. And by heated, I mean just me. I was yelling at Logan.
It was amazing.
Also,
you guys should go listen to that.
Yes, and also check out my other podcast. It's called Worst Week Yet. You can find it wherever. worstweekyet.com.
Yeah, and also check out our Beehive at thecrumbling.beehive.com, which is BEEHIIV, but the Crumbling is spelled fucking normal because we're not total degens. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. And thank you to my co-host for being here, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Hell yeah.
Peace.